My custom ordered MacBook Pro has finally arrived. Let's begin this review. I've gone with a 14-inch space grey model because I'm ready to go back to a more portable laptop again. You see, in 2015, I had to upgrade my 13-inch MacBook Pro to the 15-inch model, but only because I needed more processing power on the fly. Apple made the best chips exclusive only to the bigger models. Even though I prefer a smaller laptop, that 15-inch turned out to be the best, most reliable, most functional laptop I've ever owned. I worked that thing to death around the world, and I truly hope this new Apple Silicon will do the same. And so, with the same Apple Silicon available in the 14-inch model this time around, I've jumped the opportunity to have a smaller laptop again. This 14-inch model just feels so good in my hands. It feels so right. Inside, I have the M1 Max with 32-core GPU, with 32 gigs of RAM and a 1TB SSD. In total, this custom spec cost me just a shy under 5,000 Australian dollars. It's fascinating how Apple have managed to make something so beefy look so modern. I really love this. It takes 2 steps forward by taking 1 step back. It's perfectly weighted and it carries easily with a one-handed grip compared to my old 15-inch laptop. I also have this weird thing where I enjoy using my laptop in bed, even sitting on my chest, and although I wouldn't recommend this, it really does sit just right on me. Apple have abandoned their philosophy of making everything look as sleek as possible at the expense of function. They really mastered the art of visual slimming in their previous laptops, because you would never know that they're actually thicker than this new chunky looking model. It's all to do with those edges. The keyboard feels amazing, like it's a much thicker key than it really is. It also makes a more solid thud with each travel than a light tapping sound. The hinge doesn't seem to open up as much as it used to on my 2015. This is slightly annoying because when I sit the laptop on my knees, I had it open all the way on my old laptop. I have really bad eyesight and I work without my glasses, so I like to have the screen closer to my face. The more acute hinge actually affects this, but hopefully at least it's built more robust now. My old hinge needed retightening a few times over the years by Apple. Time will tell about the new one. Now, when it comes to the ports, my personal opinion is that it feels strange. Imagine you've just come from the 2015 MacBook Pro and you've just jumped 6 years into the future. Apple and everyone is going on about MagSafe, HDMI and SD ports, but these are the things that you just had. There's nothing special about them. It seems crazy to be congratulating Apple for putting these basic things in their cutting-edge laptop. I mean, if Aston Martin puts parking sensors in their new supercar, nobody's going to be patting them on the back for it. In fact, all it does is reveal the mistakes Apple made in their last generation laptops. I never bought any of the MacBook Pros from 2016 to 2020. I've skipped the entire generation of Touch Bar, dongles, and butterfly keyboards. But you don't buy a supercar for its parking sensors. You buy them for its performance, and this thing absolutely screams. And now, it comes with parking sensors. Photographers' processing requirements generally aren't as heavy as other industries such as filmmakers and 3D artists, but we still need to work fast on the go, and as they say, time is money. I've been testing with editing 100 megapixel Phase 1 RAW files, 100 megapixel Fuji GFX RAW files, and 60 megapixel Sony A7R4 RAW files. Now, I don't know if it's the processor or the SSD, but this thing won't slow down no matter how many layers I throw at it. But one of the most processor intensive tasks I have to do in my line of work is batch process a project into JPEGs. It allows a client to go through the shoot and nominate selected images for post-production. On my iMac workstation, I start the batch work and go away for a cappuccino. But now, well, now I only have time for an espresso. Now, as a content creator, I also use Premiere. but I found performance largely correlates with your personal utilization of hardware acceleration, like H.264 ProRes and Final Cut Pro. But whilst my i9 iMac had its fans blaring, the M1 fans never kicked in. In fact, the M1 fans never came on in any of my testing in Premiere and Photoshop. Going from an Intel chipset to Apple Silicon feels like going from an internal combustion engine to electric. Now, we've heard some issues with the display, such as response time and very occasional ghosting, but real-world use, the display is nothing short of incredible. It makes this laptop a considerable value proposition even when you think about the Retina XDR display you're getting with it. The 16-inch represents better value for this because you want as much of this incredible screen as you can get. So I think if absolute performance or even value is what you prioritize, the 16-inch is the way to go. For a bit more cash, you essentially get upgraded cooling, a bigger screen, and a better overall workstation long term. But not everyone buys a MacBook Pro for these reasons. For me, my priority is performance in a reasonably convenient package. I'm happy to compromise on a few things in order to have something that suits my needs, working on a plane, a hotel, the backseat of a car, or just on my lap in bed. When I need a bigger screen, we almost always tether to an external monitor anyways, so the 16-inch is kind of wasted on me. To be blunt, I don't see the big deal about this notch at all. Maybe I'm a glass half full type of person, because I don't see a notch intruding on your workspace. I see all these extra pixels around the notch being added as a bonus on top of your screen real estate. If Apple didn't give us that extra screen space, then nobody would be complaining about anything. And yes, of course the notch doesn't need to be so recognizably big, and of course Apple is going to add Face ID to next year's model. My final thoughts with this laptop is that Apple is listening. From the return of the ports including MagSafe to the keyboard and even the replaceable MagSafe cable, which any MagSafe owner would know why this is going to save us down the line. This laptop defies the Apple trend of dictating what their customers should want and just giving them what they've asked for. And that, in my mind, is a good thing. My other lasting impression is that this is the first real Apple Pro laptop in as many years. The 2016 to 2020 MacBook is a Pro in the same way the iPhone Pro is a Pro. It's only a Pro in the sense that it's their most luxurious model for consumers. It's consumer level top spec, not functionally for professionals. See, this MacBook Pro is legitimately aimed at professional users. It doesn't have that sleek, slimming design anymore. They're moving away from that sleek roadster sports car philosophy, and they've given us a functional pickup truck, but with the engine of a race car. And for a working pro like me, that sounds absolutely perfect. And guys, can I just add, something that I'm really proud of seeing is just how many of you are still kicking along with older MacBooks. I feel like everyone around me here wants to upgrade every cycle and having the best of the best all the time. Having had the 2015 Retina MacBook Pro for all this time makes me feel kind of cheap and outdated. But based on your comments and questions, I found so many of you are still productively using MacBooks as far back as 2009. And I just think that's bloody amazing. If whatever you're using works, I say keep going. But if you're going to upgrade and you stick with Macs, I think this is definitely the year.